This is what I was watching right before we started. I was like, oh, what is this? Okay, I will check that out. Is it public?
Who are looking for strong.
Look at this guy. Who told him that these glasses were right for this guy? Like who was like, definitely these glasses. Definitely. All right, let's check out this video and then we'll go check out what was sent over here. Boing, boing, boing.
Pauses a lower court decision that blocked the Biden administration's efforts to regulate these ghost guns.
Such as President Joe Biden, who are looking for stronger regulations on these so-called ghost guns.
Judge in Texas that nullified the Biden administration's regulation on ghost gun kits, which make firearms untraceable.
The problem is that the Second Amendment is pretty clear. We can argue over whether the court interprets it properly.
In issuing those regulations last year, saying the guns are a major threat to public safety.
Administration effort to regulate ghost guns for now. The court voted 5-4 to put a ruling on hold from a
Supreme Court ATF. The recent development in the Vanderstock frames and receivers case, where the ATF has filed for Supreme Court review, marks a significant milestone in the ongoing battle over 80% arm restrictions. This move by the ATF comes after the First Circuit handed down its decision on a summary judgment, pushing the case to the forefront of legal scrutiny. The ATF's decision to seek Supreme Court review follows the procedural posture of the case and lower court decisions, ultimately forcing their hand in this matter. This move was anticipated by legal observers, highlighting the critical nature of the case's implications for Second Amendment rights. The ATF's hope for a favorable outcome rests on recent emergency stays granted by the Supreme Court in their favor. However, this optimism may be misplaced, as the complexities of the case and its broader implications suggests a more nuanced outcome. To understand the gravity of this case,
I do want to understand it. Watch as I destroy this 5-year-old and combinatorics. Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck you up. I will out-debate any fucking 12-year-old. Watch me. Ghost guns. I want to know what the definition of a ghost gun is. What are ghost guns? They're DIY guns. Ghost guns are constructed by individuals using unfinished frames and receivers, the piece of the firearm that contains the operating parts of the fringe mechanism, and which are the part of the gun regulated under federal law. However, when the frame or receiver is unfinished by small fraction, it is unregulated. Ghost gun kits include all of the necessary component parts to turn the unfinished frame or receiver into a fully functioning gun, which once assembled looks, feels, and functions like a traditional gun, whether a handgun or assault weapon, and is just as deadly and dangerous in the wrong hands. Okay. There are no federal restrictions. There are no federal limitations. Ghost gun kits parts are relatively cheap, and ghost gun kits and parts are intentionally marked as unregulated and untraceable to appeal to those who want to avoid background checks and or are gun traffickers. Okay, so I can see the problems with this. I get it. I understand why people would be upset about this, but I also understand the idea of being in a system, a special attorney, if shit does go south and they do decide to start grabbing people's guns and the government does turn on its citizens, then having unregistered guns is vital. It's very vital. I'm a 2A absolutist, and I understand there's a lot of gun violence here in America, but that's the fucking price of freedom. And I know I'm saying that in a silly way, but it's very true. It's just people who want to get away with murder. Kind of. And I could see the problem. Again, I can see the problem with the idea of having a gun out there that isn't registered. You know, people, you can't trace it back to anybody. I get that murderers and fucking assassins are going to love this. But I think the idea of being able, because once they start regulating ghost guns, like, doesn't that open the door for other I feel like it opens the door for other regulations, but I could be wrong. Knives are easier to get a hold of. I agree. It's a gun that is made on the black market, has no regulation, usually made from various parts DUI. Thank you, Papa Sweep. Again, I do see the problems with it. I see it as problematic. And maybe there does need to be restrictions on it. I don't know enough about it for me to be like, fuck them. But in my head, when it all goes down and they're coming for your guns, because, you know, if you're a legal gun-owning citizen, you have to register your weapons, and if you carry or conceal carry, you know, you have to be licensed. Everything has to be on the up and up because you don't want to be caught with fucking unregistered weapons in your possession. Those are fucking felonies. Which felonies strip you of your rights to vote and basically ruins your whole work life. You know, like you won't. You have good luck getting a fucking real job other than construction if you have a felony, or working in some shitty kitchen. You know, like it does regulate you to poverty, and that's not great. There should be some sort of redemption in that. I have multiple unregistered guns, but they're all serialized. In an apocalypse scenario, the serials wouldn't matter. Gotcha. Papa Sweet, is that something you should be admitting on stream? I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. If you're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it. Now, he was coming to a point now, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Should these be regulated? Like, I need to know more about the situation. I'm kind of ignorant to it.
It's essential to revisit its origins and the events leading up to its current status. Initially, the plaintiffs sought preliminary injunctions against the ATF's new rule on unfinished frames and receivers, arguing that it exceeded the agency's regulatory authority. Judge Reed O'Connor granted a limited preliminary injunction, halting the enforcement of the rule against specific companies and their customers. Subsequent interventions by other companies, such as Blackhawk Manufacturing Group and Defense Distributed, resulted in additional preliminary injunctions protecting their interests. However, the pivotal moment came when Judge O'Connor granted a motion for summary judgment, vacating the entire frames and receivers rule nationwide. This comprehensive victory for the plaintiffs struck down the rule entirely, prompting the ATF to seek review. The ATF's appeal to the Fifth Circuit, accompanied by a request for a temporary stay of the vacator, was met with resistance. The Fifth Circuit declined to rule in their favor, prompting the ATF to escalate the matter to the Supreme Court on an emergency basis. The sequence of events under...
Okay. I don't know how much of that I understood. And it depends on, okay, so I have, it depends on the state. Where I live, there's no such thing as registration, although I could potentially register them and it's not a requirement legally. Oh, that's sick. Yeah, there's like some states are very lenient on certain aspects of gun owning. Like, for instance, Ohio, I can conceal carry without a CCW. I don't need a license to conceal carry. We're also open carry as well, state. And so you'll see on some like places where it says open carry not permitted here, which is completely legal. If a place, if a business doesn't allow you to do that, that's fine. And like, I don't know, open carry to me, it's fine. I don't get weird about it, but I know that it freaks people out, you know, and to me that I'd rather have it concealed than to have it out in the open, and for, you know, people easily can grab it, or freaking people out. I don't like it. And it's like when you see those assholes who are like, have their fucking AR strapped up on them at Denny's, you know what I mean? Like, why are you going to McDonald's with a fucking AR strapped on you? Like that's, you know, they're obviously making a statement, and it freaks people out because we do live in an age where mass shootings do exist, and it is a scary thing to think about. And so why would you want to do that to people? You know, but some people have an axe to grind. I don't know. And that's fine. But dude's going out. Yeah, I gotta go to IHOP, pick up some pancakes. I better strap my fucking AK to my chest. You know, it's like, come on, man. It's unnecessary. I get it. This is my penis. I only have one. Why are you staying at my eyes up here? Eyes up here. No, I do find that, like, those are the gun-toting assholes that I don't like, are those people who flash that shit around like it's something to behold, and it's like, no, it's not, man. Like, it's a very specific thing that using lethal force and presenting lethal force is a very specific situation for it to come out in. It's like, if I'm in a fist fight, I'm more likely to pull out my knife than I am a gun, because, like, there's no lethal force, right? There's no lethal force needed. And so, like, when you see people pulling out guns because they got their ass beat, it's like, fuck you, dude. Like, have a little more self-control. And I realize that in certain situations, adrenaline is pumping and you're not thinking correctly, but that's not anyone's fault but your own. Like, you need to fucking go and get your shit fixed, right? Like, go to therapy or something. Like, get a control of your emotions. If you're an adult, you know, and you are going to carry something, a death machine on you, then you need to be fucking, you need to know how to use it properly, and you need to be fucking have some sort of, you know, level-headedness, because you can't just be out there. Oh shit, I forgot. Okay, now we're ready. I don't appreciate people who, like, take it to the next level, but it's their right to do that. But why, right? Like, why? It's unnecessary. Honestly, I used to open carry with my 40 on my hip, only in response to new neighbors looking at me sideways in the pad. Listen, and I'm not against it, right? And my neighbors over at our property, they all open carry. It doesn't bother me. I think, I guess when I'm saying open carry, as in, like, people who strap on their fucking AR and go to Wendy's, right? Like, that's what that's what I see it as, overkill, because I live in a state where you see people carrying around open carry all the time. So to me, that is not a big deal. To me personally, I wouldn't ever want to open carry. It's not necessary for me. I'm very private with that kind of shit, and that gun's not coming out unless it needs to come out. So I'm not mad at anybody who does it. Again, I'm used to it. And most of the people around Ohio are used to seeing people walking around with their revolvers sticking out their shit. Yeah, but again, it's their right to do it. It's their right. Like, they can carry that shit. I mean, in Ohio, we could carry in I could carry my AR into fucking, you know, IHOP and order pancakes. But will I do that? No. Like, that's just gonna make people uncomfortable. Mighty, mighty, boom, boom. Boom, boom, indeed. So it's just not really my thing. Again, it's people's right to do it. You know, just because you have the right to do it, do you need to do it? No. But again, I have no problem with somebody just carrying their piece around, especially, you know, like there's law enforcement officers who walk around with their piece out all the time, even when they're just in their civilian clothes. You don't know what that person does. You don't know what their profession is. It's just, that's regular shit to me. But you walk around with your Mossy 590 or something, like, come on. I don't need a gun to keep people. Gene has a mouth for that. I'm having a hard time following what this stuff even means. So it's interesting to learn, but I would have to, like, go back through this and try to understand what they're saying.
Underscores the high stakes involved in the case and the urgency with which it is being addressed. The ATF's attempt to overturn the vacator of the frames and receivers rule reflects their determination to assert regulatory authority over unfinished arm components. However, the legal landscape surrounding Second Amendment rights is complex, and the outcome of this case is far from certain. While the ATF may seek validation from recent emergency stays, the Supreme Court's decision will hinge on a careful examination of statutory interpretation and constitutional principles. ATF Supreme Court review. In this case, the ATF sought an emergency stay from the Supreme Court after Judge O'Connor vacated the frames and receivers rule nationwide. The Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, granted the ATF's request. with Justice Barrett and Roberts joining the majority. This stay prevented the nationwide vacator from fully going into effect while the appeal was being reviewed by the Fifth Circuit. Following the Supreme Court's decision, 80% Arms and Defense Distributed requested Judge O'Connor to reinstate the prior limited preliminary injunctions. They argued that the emergency stay only prevented a nationwide vacator, but did not prohibit Judge O'Connor from maintaining.
Bro, where the fuck can we see something that actually isn't like just talking and fucking puzzles, man? Like I don't know all those words. Like I'm not sure if I should be happy about this or if I shouldn't be happy about it. Like I don't know. I guess that's just reporting. Let's see. I just need somebody to break it down for me. New Supreme Court ruling. Ghost guns. All right, let's see what's going on here. Supreme Court orders makers of gun parts to comply. This is from last year. Ask Supreme Court to hear. This is from last year, October 17th. Okay, so this is Reuters. This is the latest one. Biden administration. Oh, shut the fuck up. Get out of my face with this. Hold on, guys. Too long for typing on my phone. I see. Thank you, Papa Sweet. I'm glad that you understood that. My fucking dumb brain is like, oh no, man. Was it? Bow. Bad. No, I don't want to, bitch. That's why I did what I just did. Please enable ad blocker. Supreme Court granted an emergency order to stop the appeal from the ATF. Ah, okay. Thank you, Gene. Thank you for the smart people in chat. Fuck you, Reuters. Monday once again stepped into leave in federal. The U.S. Supreme Court on Monday once again stepped in to leave in place the federal government's ban on so-called ghost guns. These are unacceptable. Okay, so that was last year, though. Okay, here we go. The Biden administration on Wednesday asked the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn a lower court ruling that would prevent it from regulating privately made firearms called ghost guns that are difficult for law enforcement to trace. The U.S. Department of Justice, in its petition, argued the New Orleans-based 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in November wrongly declared that a rule adopted by the Bureau of Alcohol, the ATF, and in 2022 to combat rapid proliferations of ghost guns was unlawful. In apocalypse, you're going to run out of ammo. Yeah, but you can always stash some. You can always have eventually you're going to run out, but I think like in a situation of like an apocalyptic situation, you're not going to be using your guns constantly. You're not going to be shooting motherfuckers all the time. It's going to be like, it might be gunfights, or you're going to be hunting, in which, depending on how well you can hunt, you're using, 2 to 3 shots per animal. Maybe, one shot should be it, but obviously people make mistakes. So if you're in a situation where shit hit the fan, you're not constantly shooting people. You're not constantly, but eventually, yeah, you will run out of bullets, and bullets will be a form of currency that people are going to kill for them, right? Bullets are everything. How many motherfuckers are you gonna shoot? Mostly it'll be hunting and deterring people. Exactly. You're not constantly just blowing people away because they're coming for your shit. You might have like shootouts that do take up some ammo, some of your cachet, but it's not gonna be a constant thing unless you're in a city setting, right? Like if you're in fucking New York City and you're held up there and like you can't get out, or you just, I'm not leaving, and you set up shop there, I can see that turning into like, I'm going through my whole cache of weapons, and never mind how regulated, automatic rifles are and guns are in New York, especially in the city. So like living in big cities when this shit goes down is not the answer, folks. Get the fuck out of cities when the shit hits the fan. Better learn how to use a bow and arrow. Yes, absolutely. And me and Saucy I just got a new band for my slingshot, which I know is not going to kill somebody, but small game hunting, you can use a slingshot and such. But yeah, that U.S. military is big. Well, that's a different situation though. If it's tourney coming down on you, it's a different situation, because now you have the fucking, whoever is deciding to stay with a government who is turning the military on its own citizens, which I know a lot of military guys, and not a lot of them are about that shit. A lot of these military guys are, they love America and they love fucking their citizens, and I don't see a lot of them turning on their own citizens. Now, let me take a sidestep here. What if you filled the army with migrants who have no loyalty to the citizens, but have all the loyalty to a government that gave them a gun and money to feed their families, in which they came to this country to get? We're seeing a large migration of migrants coming over the border who are military age. I think California was talking about turning them into, if you serve in the military, you get citizenship. It's a path to citizenship. So, okay, little conspiracy theory. What if you filled the military with military age migrants that have no loyalty to the citizens of this country? That's a different thing, right? Now you have a military that is willing and will fucking just start murdering people who resist, rebels. Another thing is, if you're in a situation of tyranny, depending on how old you are or what kind of situation you're in, you're probably going to be joining up with militias. Very quickly, you're going to see militias pop up. You're going to see small groups of rebel forces. You're going to see generals who deflect from the U.S. government to join rebel forces and such. So you're going to have some sort of organization within civilian populations, which is great. But if you have a whole army filled with migrants that don't give a fuck about you, and you have the full force of the U.S. government and military behind them, then these small little rebel forces are going to be squashed out very quickly, because no matter what kind of civilian hardware you got, the military, the U.S. government has something better, bigger, drones, fucking bombs, jets, helicopters, the whole fucking shebang. So it's not a good look. You're fucked if the U.S. government does turn on its citizens and they have a force that is willing to, murder their own people. By the way, Mike, have you looked into the whole Vosh horsecock saga? It's really silly and dumb, but it has been just a scandal I needed in these dark days. I haven't seen horsecock Vosh scandal, but I do want to know more about it. That doesn't sound like a good idea. Most people are going to shoot a gun once and decide that it's not for them. I don't know. I shot a gun once and I was like, this is it. I'm going to sell all my musical equipment to do this now. Maybe, Gene. I don't know. I mean, but you're right. Most people who aren't familiar with guns, which there's a lot of people in this country who aren't familiar with guns, who want nothing to do with guns, are gonna probably submit to whatever tyrannical government that is, taking over. They're gonna submit because they got families, they got a lot to lose, they don't know anything about guns, they don't know anything about combat, they don't know, they've never trained with anything. Not to say that I'm fucking combat ready, I'm a fucking fat guy who can shoot guns and knows how to like work a gun, but that's not anything. I'm a semi-decent shot. I'm not great. I'm not as good as Saucy. That's for sure. So, I don't know. You're right about that. A lot of people are going to be deterred from fighting because they have no experience with guns or are afraid of guns, or they have too much to lose. So, yeah, there's a lot. If the government turns on us, I think we would be fucked. Especially if you have a bunch of migrants who don't care about you or this country really, The U.S. Department of Justice in its petition argued the New Orleans. Okay, we saw that. Ghost guns unlawful. The rule update. So the new judgment of the Supreme Court was to keep this ban on ghost guns going. Which I don't know enough about the law, but I would say, like the thing I always think about is like the Patriot Act, right? The Patriot Act was supposed to be a wartime act that was supposed to expire in 2005, and they ratified that shit, right? Like when 2005 came up, they fucking codified that shit right into law. So to me, I always see once you start putting limitations on certain ideas or certain instruments like guns, where does that stop and when is it, are they going to just stop at ghost guns? Are they going to just stop at, to me, I just see the government is constantly overstepping their bounds. They're constantly pushing the marker back. Because the more power they have, the more control they have, the better off they are. They are, not us. But anyway, Mike's going to be sitting in a building like, tyranny, come and get me. Listen, I'm not like sitting here fucking... Look, I'm not sitting here fucking, freaking out about all that stuff. It's not something that I think about constantly, but it is something that sits in the back of our head, especially when you see what happened in the last 4 years. When you think about fucking the pandemic and how crazy shit got then and how it illuminated how fragile this system is, how at any moment this fucking whole thing can be upended. People think because they can go to McDonald's every day and get a fucking a double cheeseburger, and they can go to the store and buy groceries and go to the gas station and get some gas, and if they need something fixed in their car, they can go. We take that for granted, and we're so used to the decadence of American living that they don't think that can go away. People don't think that these things can just stop. And we have such poor memories that, like, there was moments. I mean, do you guys not remember the shelves being empty at the store? Do you guys not remember that shit? You guys not remember how fragile our fucking whole system is? Right now, there's truckers saying that they're not going to deliver goods to New York City because of the ruling for Donald Trump, the $350 million ruling where they found him guilty of fraud. Which, when you look into the case, is some trumped up charges, but not that I'm a fan of Trump at all, but still, you can see how fucking they're making political enemies. You can see how easily people can turn on a certain area of the country, how the truckers will be like, well, fuck you, have fun without fucking fresh produce, bitch. So anything can set off anything, and people are very much so used to living in an easy environment that we don't think past the fucking double cheeseburger from McDonald's, right? We don't think past that. So I'm not saying that I'm sitting here fucking stashing away bullets or storing up food caches and stuff like that and making a network of friends who fucking have the same ideals. That could be an easy trading network if shit does go down. I'm not saying I'm doing all that. I'm not saying I'm not. All I'm saying is that I don't think it's bad to be a little prepared. Bro, you got to look at it for another day. It's too much for a quick pass. Basically, Vosh accidentally showed his porn folder on screen during a stream, and it was full of animated horse cock and porn. He's been roasted. But dude, why is it always these fucking like creepy fucking ultra liberals, which I know Vosh kind of teeters on some of that, but he's pretty liberal. Why is it always these dudes who are fucking into the weirdest shit? Which, hey, all good, Vosh, if you like horse cock, good for you, buddy. And lollipop. What is lollipop? Is that like lollipop porn? Like, what is that? We'd be fine if they quit taking away the backups. I had to fight an old lady for one ply. Not yet. Look, that shit was crazy. I remember going to Sam's Club too late. We went to Sam's Club too late, but not too late because we went there and we stocked up on a lot of stuff. But I remember walking past the Charmin and I'm like, oh, let's see if there's a better deal. And then when we came back to the Charmin, it was gone. There was a whole pallet full. It was gone. All that was left is that one ply sandpaper fucking Sam's Club brand. No bueno. So man, it's so easy that the stores are going to be gone. The stores just empty out. Our fucking, the way things are shipped, right? The way that we receive goods is on a daily basis. Everything's always on the edge of breaking down. Our infrastructure is garbage here. Like, we're still running on infrastructure from the 50s, right? We're still just sort of, like, we allowed these corporations to fucking do as little as possible to make the most money off of the government and steal our tax dollars just to pay these CEOs large amounts of money for them to fucking just let this system crumble down. All I'm saying is, like, it doesn't hurt to be a little prepared on stuff. I'm not saying be a prepper and get your fucking dig out your backyard and get your, bomb shelter going, but maybe. It ain't good, bro. Lolly is basically anime porn of young-looking girls. Oh, borderline CP. Fuck. Okay, let's look into that. So, Ghost Gun stuff. We'll see what happens. I'm interested. Let's see if there's anything else that's saying. The result would be a flood of untraceable ghost guns into our nation's communities, endangering the public and thwarting law enforcement efforts to solve violent crime. Okay, here's another thing that they use. They use fear, right? The Patriot Act. It was terrorists. We have to fucking take away your rights because of terrorism, for safety. And this is what happens a lot, right? They'll say it's safety, or we got to prevent racism, or like whatever the fuck it is, whatever excuse it is, it's always operating on fear and emotion. It's not operating on fucking legality and logic. So you always got to watch out for people who are saying, we got to protect people against themselves. It noted the Supreme Court had twice before, in August and October, acted following earlier rulings in the same case by the Texas judge, and granted a request by the administration that have allowed the regulations to remain in effect while litigation continues. The administration has said ghost guns are attractive to criminals. You know what we do? You know what we're going to do for this? You know what we're going to do, actually? Let's go and let's get AI and see what AI says about this. I always like going to AI and having AI sort of give us a back and forth, right? Like what are the pros and cons of ghost guns? Let's see if they'll actually answer the question. What are the pros and cons of ghost guns? So let's see what AI says. Ghost guns are homemade firearms that can be made using parts and kits that are not regulated by federal law. They do not have serial numbers or identifying information, making them untraceable. Some pros of ghost guns are they allow individuals to exercise their right to bear arms without government interference or registration. They can be customized to fit the user's preferences, needs. They can be cheaper and easier to obtain than traditional firearms. Some cons, they pose a threat to public safety and gun violence prevention as they can be used by criminals, domestic abusers, terrorists, and other prohibited persons who cannot pass a background check. They're difficult to trace and investigate when we know all that. They may be poor quality and reliability, increasing the risk of accidents and malfunctions. And then here comes the programming, right? Ghost guns have become a growing problem in the United States as they are increasingly used in crimes and mass shootings. Are they really? Are ghost guns used in mass shootings? The federal government and some states have recently enacted and proposed laws to regulate ghost guns and require serial numbers of background checks. However, these laws face legal challenges what are the legal challenges they face? What are some negative repercussions? Repercussions of regulating ghost guns. Ghost guns. Ah! I'd really like a solid argument opposed to the ghost gun regulations. It may infringe on the right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It may create a black market for ghost guns and parts and kits, which there already is a black market for that. It may face legal challenges in opposition to some gun rights advocates and manufacturers who argue that the regulation is unconstitutional. Is there a chance if the ghost gun that the government can start regulating registered firearms? Let's see the bias go. There is no definitive answer to that question, as it depends on political and legal developments in the future. The ghost gun ban is upheld by the Supreme Court, and the federal government enacts more regulations or registered firearms, such as universal background checks, assault weapons ban. Okay, ghost guns ban is struck down by Supreme Court, and federal government is unable to regulate ghost guns. Okay, so they're just giving me some bullshit. If you want to follow the letter of the law, go out and get yourself a musket. Yeah, maybe. And I'm not against regulating these guns, man. Like, I'm not against these background checks because some people shouldn't be getting fucking, automatic rifles, right? There's definitely some people who should not be getting guns. So doing background checks isn't the worst thing ever. So maybe a little regulation on these ghost guns are something to be held up, because I don't know. I know if somebody has a record of domestic abuse and violence and shit, like, they should not be having guns. Obviously, you have problems. You have problems with, control of your emotions, and maybe you shouldn't have yourself one of these. And Gene, they do make those musket guns still. I have friends at work who have those musket bullshit loaders. I don't know what they even call them. They're fucking dumb. Like, get the fuck out of here with that. The technology has evolved for a reason. Okay. Let's